What makes a preservationist work? I would say you have to have a heart. You have to have an appreciation for things that are beautiful. You have to have respect for past generations and what they have worked so hard to pass on to us. And you have to have a commitment and a backbone to stand up for those values, go to battle for those values, be argumentative about those values, because we all know as preservationists, we are right in the long run.
These buildings have to be preserved to replicate history and remind us that these buildings aren't bricks and mortar, these buildings are people.
Landmarks Illinois has contributed incredibly to the spread of preservation and preservation values throughout the entire state, not just here in Chicago. That diversity of activity has led to the rebirth of so many towns, so many small towns across our great state.
Landmarks Illinois is about people saving places for people.
People saving places for people.
People saving places for people.
For people.
For people.
For people.
Good evening, and welcome to the 27th Annual Landmarks Illinois Richard H. Driehaus Foundation Preservation Awards and the first virtual presentation of this program. I'm Bonnie McDonald, the President and CEO of Landmarks Illinois, and I'll be serving as your virtual MC, though I am here live in the Chicago studio of Frost, our production partner. We kicked off the evening with a special Breweries Saving Buildings happy hour to get us warmed up for the main event. Our thanks goes out to Alex Walking, a member of Landmarks Illinois' Board of Directors, and Skyline Council, who was our happy hour host. Thanks also to brewmasters at Prairie Street Brewery in Rockford and Eris Brewery and Cider House in Chicago, two previous Driehaus award-winning projects, for guiding guests through a taste testing and tours of their historic homes. And it wouldn't be a party without music. So thanks to preservation architect Eddie Torres from Bauer Latosa Studio and his band, Los Cool Shades, for setting tonight's vibe. At Landmarks Illinois, our board, staff, and I all look forward to this event every year as our most feel-good program. And although we can't physically be together tonight, we are still a community coming together to celebrate the incredible accomplishments of people saving the places that are special to them. Theirs are the stories of optimism, courage, and resilience. The very stories we are looking for right now to give us encouragement and hope. Pivoting to a virtual event does have its benefits. You'd normally see a few photos on a PowerPoint slide and hear a short acceptance speech. You'll now see engaging videos produced by the creative and talented storytellers John Harris and Lizzie Kreinler from A5 Branding and Digital. The award recipients will tell their own stories in their award-winning places, and you'll see how their communities have benefited from their efforts. We hope that you leave tonight with greater know-how and inspiration to forge ahead in your own preservation pursuits. We have the Richard H. Driehaus Foundation to thank for their steadfast support as our awards program sponsor. Ann Lazar, the Foundation's Executive Director, will join us on film to talk about why this program matters to them and why we hope it matters to you as well. Mr. Driehaus has given even more to this program than financial support. He also helped to select the awards themselves, befitting the significance of this honor. The awards are created by artist Michael Chupik of Trek Studios and are a replica of an ornate terracotta panel in the style of Louis Sullivan. The panel is from the 1899 Western Methodist Book Concern building, an early Chicago school skyscraper designed by Harry Wheelock in Chicago's Loop. Tonight, you will certainly see impressive architecture, but we want to take you beyond the beautiful building. Preservation is about people and how the special places in our lives inspire us and comfort us, provide us with jobs, and ensure important stories from our past are elevated into the present. Every one of the 9 award winners you are about to see dedicated years to their projects, and in some cases, multiple decades, because they had the vision for what these places would become. The places were not only transformed, they also transformed the hearts and minds of their neighbors in the process. This is a celebration of the people who made these projects possible. The team that saw the beauty and potential of a long vacant hospital, or those who reused a historic school for senior housing. The friends who fought for 15 years to find the right use for a vacant industrial building, and the team who worked with the residents of a housing project to revitalize their community. And lastly, a couple who dedicated the past 50 years to preserving their town. Leadership was key for all of these award recipients. Now, I'd like to take a moment to thank the leaders of Landmarks Illinois for shaping our organization into a strong, statewide voice for historic preservation. Our 34 volunteer board members generously donate their expertise, their energy, and their financial resources, enabling us to deliver effective programs. Many of them donated their time to help our award winners along the way. Our 2020 Preservation Awards jury is similarly deserving of recognition. Now, these experts volunteered for the very challenging job of narrowing the field from 40 nominees to just 9 winners. And they did so after reading hundreds of pages of background material and literally deliberating for hours. This amazing and inspiring event has been organized for months in advance through the work of several staff members and interns. Suzanne German, our Director of Grants and Easements, Events Manager Tiffany Williams, Communications Manager Caitlin McAvoy, and Julie Carpenter, our Office Manager, have spearheaded the creation of this fantastic program. Every staff member assists with this program in some way. So I also want to thank Maria Rich, Lisa DiChiara, Frank Butterfield, and Ann Poitinen. Awards intern Craig Kennedy was indispensable throughout the nomination and jury process. We congratulate Craig and wish her well in her new job at the Chicago History Museum. Now, on to the main event. You're about to see a video for each of our 9 award winners. The videos are grouped in 3 series that follow common themes. Now, in between, you'll hear the voices of our sponsor, Ann Lazar of the Richard H. Driehaus Foundation, and Landmarks Illinois board member Jackie Holston Taylor to cue up these series. We'll have a music interlude by Ed Torres of Los Cool Shades to keep the night festive, and you'll see me a few times along the way as well. I am proud to announce the first 3 2020 Landmarks Illinois Richard H. Driehaus Foundation Preservation Award recipients that exemplify the preservation of large-scale anchors in their communities. The Cook County Hospital Administration Building in Chicago, the University of Chicago's Keller Center, and the Aurora Art Center in Illinois' second-largest city of Aurora. Thank you for joining us this evening, and enjoy the show.
Actually, it was a house you went by during Halloween. You know, it was a spooky house in the area. And friends and I would drive by and, you know, we'd slow down and there'd all be these dares of who's gonna go to the front door. I mean, to be honest, I was a little, you know, uneasy about coming in here today, but it's just funny what, you know, the rumors that spread in a small town.
The Watseka Wonder story loomed large in people's imaginations. About 15 years ago, I moved back to Watseka because I was working at that time with an arts festival. I saw the Roth home abandoned and decaying and falling apart, and I thought it was a tragedy that was happening. So I approached someone who knew the owners and asked them if they'd be willing to sell, and I took on what turned out to be a 15-year project to renovate this home and bring back this home to the way it looked and the way it felt when it was first built in 1868.
When the big Walmart came in when I was in high school, you know, when the mall was built in Kankakee, which is 30 or so minutes from here, it really kind of devastated the downtown and Watseka that I knew, where I shopped, all the little local vendors and shop owners. And so I really hope that this would maybe, you know, give us a momentum in the area and in Watseka to slowly turn back that Main Street into something, you know, the community can enjoy again.
In a way, it's a monument to spiritualism, and it's a monument to that debate in the 1800s of what the nature of the world is. And today, when people come here looking for ghosts and looking to experience something paranormal, they're carrying on that history of wanting to know what the nature of the world is, and they're doing it in a home that has been very carefully restored so people can experience what it was like to live in the 1800s and what it was like to be part of the Victorian era. This house is important to many people, and I've received hundreds, if not thousands, of expressions of gratitude over the years for doing this work on the house, saving the house. I felt like a steward, that this house was born long before I was born and will live long after I have died. And so for a certain period of time, I'm the steward and the caretaker for this house, and it's my role to make sure that it's preserved for future generations.
This is now deemed one of our most significant sites in the county. So that's a big win for Watseka, you know, winning one of these awards. The lesson here is it can be done. It is possible.
For so many years, it loomed over downtown, 13 stories, as a sad story of the past, as what we were versus who we were going to be.
This building looked like it might be torn down, demolished, done away with. That didn't make sense to me, and so this building was built by the Ziak family. We named the organization Friends of Ziak, which had a particular and interesting ring to it, and people would say, well, what's Friends of Ziak? And that was the entree to being able to talk about the project.
What we saw here was something completely different. It had the chance to be so transformative. It was so massive that if we could find the right mix and use for this building and found the right developer, we knew that it could produce jobs and it could produce taxes. And there's nothing more important in terms of economic development than those two things. That's what we've had in the back of our mind all along. Additionally, most of us are very interested in historic preservation, and this was a project that we thought could be, well, I'm not sure any of us thought it could be as beautiful as it is today, but we certainly had vision for it.
Four companies out of about 100 come from various places in the United States and look at this project. And it might have been residential, but it looked like from a business plan standpoint, the most practical thing was to make it a 160-room hotel.
from a product perspective, this hotel and conference center does a lot. I think it was a key missing element in the downtown Renaissance story. People are naturally drawn to water, but in our community, we lacked that amenity. Whether it's eating out, whether it's a cultural experience, whether it's a sporting event, a hotel and a conference center like this makes downtown Rockford so much richer, so much more vibrant, and I think positions us so well for the future.
There is not a building like this. You can't go to St. Louis, Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, and see a building like this. This is unique to our community. And the architecture that we should preserve are the pieces of architecture that are unique to our city and tell the story of our city. If you're downtown, and of course all cities start downtown and then they spread out, and if you lose that center, that heart of the city, you destroy the beginning of the story, the beginning of the tale of Rockford.
I used to drive by Old Cook County Hospital at least 3 or 4 times a week, and I read up on it and found that it was really our Ellis Island. The old hospital was a fabulous place. It was part of the community. It turned nobody away. It was there for one and for all. When I heard in the early 2000s that Cook County Board was thinking of demolishing it, I said, over my dead body.
When John and I first went through this building 5 years ago, we had to do it in bubble suits. The building was so deteriorated and the floors were so unstable and so many things were falling down around us. We had no idea what state the building was in and whether or not it could be restored.
We just thought the cost was so prohibitive that it couldn't be done.
This is a building that should be preserved, not because of just the bricks and mortar, which are wonderful and a National Historic Landmark, but because of the service that's provided for 100 years to the people of the city of Chicago and Cook County.
Fortunately, we found support with various groups, including the National Park Services, Landmarks Illinois, and so many others that really embraced our effort to restore, rehab, and turn this old building around.
It's not the path that most of us want to experience, spending over 20 years to save a place, but we were committed to it, and Landmarks Illinois had all along the way multiple partners. It takes a coalition to build, and basically what we were able to do was ultimately convince those people in charge that this building was not a throwaway building, that it had the potential to be adaptively reused and still serve a very important purpose for the city of Chicago.
There's a legacy here that will post-date the construction itself. This community will be better, we hope. That was certainly our vision for restoring this building. But I must admit, it was a labor of love. It didn't always make economic sense. And in the middle of a pandemic right now, having just opened a new hotel, it makes no economic sense. So we're hoping for better days as business people. But the legacy here may be the recreation of an engine, an economic engine for this community that did not exist 4 years ago.
Well, I find it amazingly coincidental that soon after the opening of this building, it found its first pandemic, which was in 1918. We're experiencing the same thing here 100 years later. But the Roaring 20s came along, life got back to normal, the economy was robust, and this asset found its successes for the next 100 years. We feel the same way. We're going to get through this, and we're going to find our success here.
So Edward Stone was the original architect of the Keller Center, opened in 1963, and honestly it was an unlovable bunker. When trying to characterize what style it was, it's obviously a mid-century modernist temple. It's got slender columns, it's got a flat roof, it's a Parthenon of sorts.
Over the last 50 years, it had several lives. Most recently, it was a dormitory, and if you walked into this building 10 years ago, it would have been hard to envision what it's turned into. Even when I joined, I didn't see it. Luckily, we had donors who saw what this building could become and architects who could really reimagine the space.
During the design process, we had really started with a high sustainability mission, and we were introduced to Theaster Gates, who actually is a faculty member here at the Harris School, and shared with him our desire to use recycled materials and repurposed materials to lower the environmental footprint of the building. And he offered up, he said, well, I've got a sawmill I'd like to start up on the south side, you know.
Years ago, Chicago had an issue with the emerald ash beetle, and it destroyed all these trees in the park districts. And so the city gave Theaster these trees, and he didn't know what to do with it. And he had this idea that to reuse the wood that he got from the city. And so he created a mill on the south side here to mill the wood. And when you walk in the building, you'll see the form is made of this wood that Theaster and his team built.
What's most exciting about this project for me has been that we've sustainably and sensitively transformed this building, which was a mid-century modern building, into a new home for the Harris School of Public Policy.
Our goal was to make the Keller Center the greenest building on the University of Chicago campus, the greenest public policy school in the country, and we did that. And evidence of that is it achieved LEED Platinum, which is, more commonplace these days, but it also achieved something called the Living Building Challenge. So it's the largest project in higher ed to achieve that in the country. So those are some proud bragging rights for the Harris School, and should help with recruitment. I understand it is.
Aurora is the second largest city in the state of Illinois of over 200,000 people and growing. And our downtown is our base and it's our heart. We want to make sure our heart continues to beat success throughout our city.
This project was the brainchild of former Mayor Thomas J. Weisener. It was his vision to take the Block and Cool building and the Stanley building and to turn them into an arts and culture destination for the downtown. The buildings had sat vacant for a number of years. The former occupant was the Waubonsie Community College, which moved right down the street. And the buildings presented a challenge for the city. Beautiful, historic buildings, but very deep floor plates with lots of square footage that weren't easily adaptable for different uses. And we were able to integrate 4 key functions: affordable artist housing for artists, a school of arts that the Paramount Theater had wanted to start for a long time. We had moved all the Paramount Theater's back-of-house operations into the building, and as well had opened a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant that serves the success of the theater next door.
It was very difficult, not just to build in something that's been sitting around vacant and that is an over 100-year-old building, but the financing, the complex financing that went into making sure this happened. This deal almost fell apart numerous times.
If it weren't for Landmarks Illinois, we would not have had this opportunity to help bring this development through to reality and to help communities like Aurora be able to revitalize their communities and just embrace the wonderful architectural heritage that is throughout Illinois.
The impact is huge to the city of Aurora. I've talked to so many families that bring their young children here for arts that are going to be trained up to be those people that are going to be on the stages, those artists, those actors that will be on the stages of the Paramount Theater, in the next generation. And the excitement around it is just palpable. People love the idea of not just being about the show, but being about the culture. And that's what we brought to our downtown. This is my dream for the city of Aurora, to rebuild our downtown and make it the mecca that it was 50, 60 years ago.
Good evening. My name is Ann Lazar, and I'm the Executive Director of the Richard H. Driehaus Foundation. The foundation is proud to support Landmarks Illinois and its annual Preservation Awards. We have a long-standing partnership and have helped to fund this inspiring program for 27 years. The Driehaus Foundation has been a steadfast supporter of the built environment and historic preservation efforts for nearly 3 decades. Landmarks Illinois reflects that same commitment through its work to protect places that tell a story about our history, who we are, and why it is important to preserve them for our future. The Richard H. Driehaus Foundation Preservation Awards provide an opportunity to honor preservation excellence throughout Illinois and Chicago, and to celebrate the individuals who have worked tirelessly on projects that enrich the lives of so many. The unique architectural work honored by these awards serves as a model and an inspiration for future projects. Earlier this year, it was my pleasure to take part in the jury process for the awards and to see firsthand the wide scope of outstanding work contributing to the vitality of communities across our state. I had the privilege to tour the Mark Twain Chicago, which preserved affordable housing in an Art Deco gem, and to speak with the residents who contribute richly to the diversity of the neighborhood. I know tonight will be an inspiring program that will demonstrate why it is important for the Driehaus Foundation and others to support the work of Landmarks Illinois and people saving places in our state. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of your program, and I am excited to learn more about the 2020 Landmarks Illinois Richard H. Driehaus Foundation Preservation Awards.
All right, you may remember that at the beginning of the program, I told you that we were live in the studio. Well, we just demonstrated to you that we are actually live because we decided to show you a bonus program. You got to see 2 of our segments of award winners together, just proving that we like to keep things fresh and keep things moving. So now, on to the rest of the program. I really want to thank Ann Lazar, who you just saw, and the Richard H. Driehaus Foundation. This is a great way to kick off our program, and I want to congratulate the first 5 award winners that you saw this evening. Now, next up, already shown were our award winners, John Whitman, who restored Watseka's Rolfe House, and the Friends of Ziak in Rockford, who refused to give up on preserving the former Ziak building in downtown Rockford. Those award winners need to be commended for their stamina and their conviction to see their projects through. Now, each of those efforts took 15 years to complete, and their stories were true labors of love. Now, our next series of stories are equally labors of love, and we have somebody who's going to introduce them who has a true love for affordable housing. And that's the next grouping that we have, is a story all about how preservation and housing are actually congruous with each other. So I'm proud to introduce Jackie Holston Taylor, a board member of Landmarks Illinois and a past Richard H. Driehaus Foundation Preservation Award winner, to cue up our videos.
Hello, my name is Jackie Holston, and I'm Senior Vice President and General Counsel at Holston Real Estate Development Corporation here in Chicago, and I'm also a Landmarks Illinois board member. Thank you for joining us this evening to honor our next set of 2020 Preservation Award recipients. The award-winning preservation projects you are about to see have special meaning to me. They all encompass providing quality, affordable, and safe housing in beautifully restored historic buildings. Holston was the proud recipient of its own Landmarks Illinois Richard H. Driehaus Foundation Preservation Award back in 2016. We were honored for our rehabilitation of the former Strand Hotel, located in Chicago's Woodlawn neighborhood. We transformed this now 105-year-old building, which was once part of Woodlawn's former vibrant jazz scene, into what is now known as the Historic Strand Apartments. Reimagining underutilized historic spaces for housing purposes has proven to be beneficial for the community and local economy, as well as for the developers, investors, and stakeholders involved. At the Strand, in addition to creating 62 affordable mixed-income apartments that its residents proudly call home, we also created 3 retail spaces and offer on-site social services to those who live in the building. We didn't just create an apartment building out of a hotel, we rebuilt a community by bringing a beautiful historic building back to life. The next 3 2020 Preservation Award-winning projects you will see breathe new life into their projects as well. Landmarks Illinois is proud to honor the following 3 2020 Landmarks Illinois Richard H. Driehaus Foundation Preservation Award recipients: Lathrop and the Mark Twain, both in Chicago, and Garfield School Senior Residences in Moline.
So Lathrop Homes was the first public housing that was built in Chicago.
In 1938, when Lathrop opened, it was built on the site of a former industrial plant and was opened as public housing, and was, I think, beautiful in the day and very durably built.
My name is Nevia Sandoval, and I have been here in Lathrop for 37 years now. I am from Guatemala, Central America. It was scary at the beginning. Both of my kids were taught by me not to talk to nobody, from the boys club to the house, and then from the house to the boys club and to school, and that was it.
This is such an important resource for the city of Chicago on the north side of the city. To bring people together in really a world-class community is the vision that we have for this, a thriving community where people from different backgrounds, different racial backgrounds, different ages, a real melting pot. They're gonna be welcomed here. And then you look at the bones, like the foundation and the history of what Lathrop was, where it came from back in the 1930s out of the Depression and what it was trying to accomplish then. And then to have the ability to work on the team that reimagines that for, you know, a new set of residents and stakeholders and the community. And who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
We made the units bigger, brighter, more modern to ensure that this was a good place for the existing residents and any newcomers to the site.
What we are saying now is that this is a neighborhood for everyone. And so we don't want to leave anyone behind. The idea that the housing, certainly the bricks and mortar has been improved, but it's also about integrating all families into the fabric of the neighborhood.
The river has come back, it's great again, and that riverfront amenity just elevates the whole place in terms of having a there to go to. So I think the transformation from 30s legacy public housing project with good bones and good architecture to a vibrant mixed-use community on the riverfront, and it will become over the years part of a long linear park, is an amazing transformation.
Beautiful, in one word, beautiful. People, buildings, landscape. Everybody is happy here. This is a place to live now. I don't want to leave my apartment for absolutely nothing.
It's a 5-story building that started out as a hotel, and then over the years it deteriorated to the point that it was really housing of last resort for people.
We left where we were at and came here. It was a flop house, but it was a place to stay.
One's home is a very personal thing. And going into a development like this at Mark Twain, which has been meticulously restored, every inch of it, both inside and outside, and I think that is very respectful to the individuals.
Our vision was to maintain this property as an affordable property and restore it to its historic grandeur, and not let this property get demolished and replaced with a high-end market rate high-rise or some other commercial property, with the main goal of maintaining the affordable housing for the people that lived here in this neighborhood and not have them displaced, throughout the city to other neighborhoods.
So the Mark Twain is an example of what CHA can do in a community. Now, we don't own the building, it's an independent developer, we don't own the land, but we do have the ability to provide long-term subsidy to create affordability within a neighborhood to ensure that folks who are coming from experiencing homelessness have stable housing for the long term.
Empty schools are something that we do not like to see because the neighborhood lives and breathes with the school around it.
The ability to take the school before it deteriorated, which we see so many empty assets in a community start to do, but take it truly before it deteriorated and create a new use that people were proud of, and that people who live around us here were happy for and thankful for and excited about, was really the appropriate opportunity.
Schools are really good candidates for rehabilitation into residential structures. They lay out really well. They have wide corridors, big open classrooms that make really inviting units. And so a vacant school is now serving the needs of seniors in the community of Moline.
We kept the name Garfield School Senior Residences, so to keep it looking like the school, the original entry doors to the apartments were the original classrooms. So in the 1901 wing, every apartment is in a classroom, so we didn't subdivide up the spaces. They fit pretty nicely for 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. We use the 3 main colors from the historic building, which is that kind of orangish reddish brick, and then the cream stonework, and then the bronze color from the trim of the windows, and we carried that through all eras of architecture to really weave the 3 wings of the building together into one property.
State historic tax credits are really important in encouraging developers to pursue rehabilitation within Illinois. Many states throughout the country have state historic tax credits that developers can then twin with the federal historic tax credit so that they can get more equity into the project and make these projects happen. So having Illinois develop a state historic tax credit program that gives additional funding to historic rehabilitation projects is critical to the success of these projects.
Hi, everybody. We're back live in the studio, and I just want to express how inspired I am to see these stories come through, in the wonderful storytelling that A5 has done. And I hope equally that you're seeing how these vacant and deteriorated spaces can be revitalized, can be reborn to become the vibrant centers of their communities, providing things like hotel rooms and safe, affordable housing for people. It's incredible what preservation can do and the people behind it who are saving these places. I really want to thank Jackie Holston Taylor for queuing those up. As an award winner herself, she knows how important these spaces are. And I want to congratulate all of the 8 award winners that we've seen so far this evening. We are so proud to share your triumphs with our audience, with our preservation community. So our final tribute tonight focuses on the Johnsons of Galena, a couple who have dedicated their lives to preserving their beloved town. Marilyn and Carl Johnson have received the prestigious Joe Antunovich Award for Leadership Lifetime Achievement Award this year. Preservation is not only about people, it's for people. No one knows this better than Joe Antunovich, one of our longest serving board members, our past president, a legendary landmark, and an inspiration in his own right. Joe and Marilyn Johnson have been 2 of over 200 dedicated board members that have served Landmarks Illinois' mission in its nearly 50-year history. We exist to give people like Marilyn and Carl the resources, support, and inspiration they need to do this important work in and with their communities. The Johnsons are truly lifelong leaders in grassroots, community-led preservation. I am sure you will be inspired, just as I am, as I said, by their work and their passion for saving places. You'll also see in this video the love and respect that they continue to have for each other after more than 50 years of marriage. Now here is Joe Antunovich to introduce you to our award winners, Marilyn and Carl Johnson. Enjoy.
If you see any episode on television about the 10 most beautiful, historic, small places in America, Galena is in every one of them. It really has and will continue to be a textbook on how preservation should be conducted in small towns across America.
The whole kind of historic preservation was wound up with tourism and economic development because at least in the early days, history was important and the town was, known as the town that time forgot. And so it was all rolled into one ball. We needed the tourism for economic development so that the people who owned the buildings could maintain and restore them.
Galena would not be the community, the historic, the quaint, the beautiful place that it is right now without the Johnsons. They taught the community the values of historic preservation. And for many of the old buildings that were struggling to be restored, they insisted upon restoration rather than demolition and building something new. So they led the way with their own house, with their own buildings, and they showed the community what can be achieved with historic preservation.
Carl and Marilyn are such a dynamic duo and very interesting and vivacious, and then to do all this work in this community, I just admire them more than I can say.
It's a great honor, and of course we're shocked. Preservation has been part of our life for a number of years, and it has been a joy for us to preserve things and to work with others doing that.
I worked for a studio for 10 years. And then formed my own business in graphic design and worked from home. So we've been working with proximity for a lot of years. So You know, we're kind of used to each other, and we really are a team. We each have our strengths and we each have our weaknesses, and we balance out pretty well.
Who could say no to Marilyn and to Carl? They would come upon a building, an old building that was about to be taken down, and Carl then, with his painter's art, would make a painting of what the building could be. Nobody could say no to Carl and Marilyn when the painting was presented to the owner.
Well, my parents are special because they've always wanted to make Galena better. They've always wanted to be part of the community, to understand the history and be able to respect it and appreciate it and carry it forward.
Few can say that they've saved an entire village like the Johnsons have. The work they have done in advocacy, education, twisting arms in Galena has helped make Galena one of the most memorable historic places in America. Well done, marvelous Marilyn and Carl. We are all indebted to you for your stewardship and your lifetime commitment towards the preservation of these marvelous buildings in Galena.
Congratulations, Marilyn and Carl. You're such good friends to our organization, and we're so proud to honor your accomplishments over 50 years. And to our marvelous Joe Antunovich, thank you for narrating that wonderful video. And thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope you take the inspiration you felt tonight with you to your next preservation project. Landmarks Illinois exists to connect people with the resources and expertise that they need to save the places that matter to them and their communities. For the Landmarks Illinois members in the audience this evening, thank you for your continued support. This year especially, your philanthropy is so essential, and we appreciate and count on your generosity. If you are not a Landmarks Illinois member, I encourage you to join us in our work of people saving places for people. Visit us at landmarks.org to learn how you can become a member for just $35 a month and stay engaged in our work. We offer monthly giving so you can set it up on automatic payments on your credit card. You can also make a donation through our website if this program has inspired you. I'm sure that we have a donation option that's right for you and where you'll feel wonderful giving to Landmarks Illinois. Most of all, thank you for joining us tonight. We were so proud to celebrate our 2020 Richard H. Driehaus Foundation Preservation Award winners tonight as a preservation community. We welcomed attendees from all corners of Illinois and across the nation to join in this first ever virtual awards ceremony. We look forward to the day when we can all be together again in person. But until then, we hope you were able to kick back on the couch with your loved ones, maybe some snacks and drinks in hand to enjoy tonight's program. I ask you to keep coming back as part of this community for more Landmarks Illinois virtual programs to learn, to meet others, and to celebrate the impact of preservation. Now, I just want to say that we're going to make tonight's program available to you on our YouTube page so that you can see these wonderful videos again. You can learn more about the participants, and if you need to, you can contact them as well to learn how they did what they did. So I hope that you'll go to our YouTube page where we'll have the entire ceremony available for you, and we'll also have individually the videos that we showed to you, so that you can share them with your friends, with your family, or others to inspire them. So before I give our final send-off, I just want to say we're going to move into a wonderful post-celebration with Los Cool Shades once again. So I mentioned Eddie Torres at the beginning, who is some kind of Superman because he's, by night accordion player and by day preservation architect. And he's joined by Mark, his trusty sidekick, and they are going to send us off this evening. So Stay well, friends. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we appreciate that you joined us. And good night. Remember, you have a friend in Landmarks, Illinois. Eddie?
Nice segue there, Bonnie. You got a friend. So we're going to be playing a Randy Newman about You Got a Friend in Me, and Landmarks, Illinois is totally friend. But great. Thanks. Congratulations for a great program. And we appreciate, we're proud and honored to be playing tonight for Landmarks, Illinois. So here we go. We're going to kick off with Randy Newman's You Got a Friend in Me. Got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead, miles and miles with a nice warm bed. Just remember what your old pal said. You got a friend in me. Oh yeah, you got a friend in me. Got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. Landmarks, Illinois, you have a friend in. Where you go, you got troubles, we have them too. There isn't anything we wouldn't do for you. We stick together and we see it through. You got a friend in me. Oh yeah, you got a friend in me. Some folks little think I'm a little smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too. But none of them will ever love you the way I do. It's me and you, oh, as the years go by. Our friendship will never die. We gotta see it through to our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend